What's up, guys? Back with another video. We just hit 400, well, we passed 400 subscribers. Appreciate the support.
And then we're going to Washington, D.C. to take back the White House! Yeah!
That's what's up. Thanks. Appreciate it. This video is on emotional intelligence. Man, this topic, oh man, this topic is so important because humans, we are run by emotions. We're logical, but we are primarily emotional first. This needs to be really understood. So what is emotional intelligence in a few sentences? It's basically an awareness and understanding of how you work emotionally, how others work emotionally, and not just overall, but during specific situations. So how are people in social situations? How are you in social situations? How do you react to when bad things happen? How do you react when good things happen? What decisions do you make? And how do you manage yourself? It's all these things. It's really a conglomerate of all of this. And if you look at your day-to-day life, most of your decisions are made based off of your emotional state at that moment. And it doesn't seem like it. You think you're super logical, but it's just not the case. So let's really get into this. So oftentimes when we're not emotionally mature enough to see how we're acting in a certain situation, emotional hijacking can happen. So this term means that your emotions take over and make the decision for you, right? And it almost seems like you are your emotions because they seem so real and strong, and oh, this is the way, right? Like if and that's understandable, because you know, if you're in a fight or flight situation, like Michael Myers comes out with a saw and he's about to kill you, you're gonna dip, like you're gonna run, like, you know, your limbic system in your brain is just gonna be like, all right, let's get out of here. That's an emotional response, and it's quick. It's supposed to keep you alive, which makes sense. But in our day-to-day lives, a lot of times we don't come across those dangerous situations, and we make those quick emotional decisions when they're not necessary. So when you're aware of how the emotions hijack you, when anxiety happens, right, it takes over, and it's like let's say you're going to go to some networking event, and you're going to be social, you're going to get to know everybody, but then you actually get there, right? Logically, you know that you're supposed to like network, talk to people, introduce yourself, but when you get there, your emotions come out, and the anxiety happens, and you're like, no, I don't want to talk to nobody. I don't want to talk to these people. You know, what are they going to think of, you know, of me? Oh, am I dressed right? And then it occurs, right? So you have to be aware of that and say, oh, okay, I'm experiencing anxiety right now. And this seems really real, right? But I have to understand that just because it came up in a rose, it does not mean it should stop what I'm here to do, right? I'm not going to waste my time because anxiety is occurring. Okay, I'm the master of my emotions, and I can go to this networking event and introduce myself, meet some cool people, and make some nice partnerships. Some people are very logical, right? Like super logical, and that's great, right? They're super logical about things. But when you don't understand like the importance of emotional intelligence, you apply logic to every single part of your life. So even if something isn't going as planned, you're logically trying to put yourself, like, let's say you're feeling a certain emotion that's not in line with how you feel logically. You're going to try to logically turn your emotion into how you're supposed to feel. So let's take a guy that, like, he's pressured from his family to get married or something like that, and he believes that this is what he's supposed to do. He's supposed to get married, and he does not feel like this is right for him, but logically he's supposed to get married. He's like in his 30s, he's supposed to get married now, so he does it anyways. He's trying to manipulate his emotions logically, which won't really work, into being a certain way that fits a mold that he thinks he's supposed to fit. Like even in the marriage, let's say he tells himself he's supposed to be happy, like, I'm in this marriage, I'm supposed to be happy, but he's not happy. This is a trap of being logical about your emotions. That's not how he truly feels. He actually feels like, this sucks, I don't really want to be in this, but he's trying to make that logic pull his emotions towards, oh, this is great, I love this. And you know, if he tries to force it, over time he's just going to get miserable and really end up resenting the marriage, probably his wife, and probably resent his family that told him to get married. But at the end of the day, it was his choice to do so. So him blaming it on his surroundings, his environment, that he should only be blaming himself, because he's the one that made that decision. Remember, you have dominion over your life. You're the one that makes that decision for yourself. Emotional intelligence is also how other people work, right? How are you when interacting with others? Can you read social cues? Can you see when someone's uncomfortable? Can you see when someone's like agreeing with you? Can you tell when somebody likes you? Can you tell when someone doesn't like you? And that's okay too. Not everybody's gonna like you. Social cues are so important for you to be able to make lasting connections, professionally, relationships, because everything that you see is built off of human connection with each other. Buildings, contractors communicate with other architects, and they work on this project together, get the funding, and then they make a skyscraper. Automotive technicians, engineers, they work on a car, and then, speaking of a car, outside, they work on a car so they can make that kind of noise during jemchulo's videos. So the person can enjoy it and then go to wherever he needs to get to, right? So this all comes from a social connection, socially connecting with one another. Oftentimes, when it comes to being emotionally intelligent in social situations, you want to read someone's mood, right? Like, for example, if someone's really upset about something that's like, it kind of has nothing to do with you, that probably wouldn't be the best time to ask them for a favor, right? Like, hey, can you walk my dog? I'm not gonna, like, he's like, this person's pissed off right now. You probably don't want to ask them for that favor. So earlier I mentioned how most of our decisions are made emotionally. With that being said, it's very important to understand to not make big decisions when you're in an emotional state, right? If you're super angry, don't make a big decision. If you're sad, don't make a big decision. If you're super happy, don't make a big decision. These moods color what you see, right? A situation that you see, it gets colored by the mood that you're in that specific moment, and it feels like you're doing the right thing, but you're just in that particular mood. Like, I could think of times where maybe I was working with a contractor in my advertising business, and there's a certain thing the contractor would do, and it would piss me off, and my business partner hated it too. We're like, wow. But I understood that, hey, I'm in a specific mood right now, and it's not the best time to talk to him yet. I have to go back to my base state, base Jeremy, right? And then look at things logically, as logical as possible, and then speak to him. That way my communication is clear. I take into account what he's maybe experienced, and then we could correct things. Because if I just go in, I don't know if you experienced it, maybe you had a manager or a boss that's done this. They go in and they're just like, duh. It's because they're in an emotional state and you just let it go at that moment, and then they regret it, right? You regret it because it's like, oh, that's not me, that's just how I felt at the time. But that person has a lasting impression of you that lasts a long time based off that certain moment, especially if they just met you recently, like first time seeing you, second time seeing you, and they see that, it's like that's the impression they get of you. And if you can't regulate your emotions, you're gonna have trouble making these lasting bonds with people or getting along with people overall, professionally or in relationship. So yeah, just don't make big decisions when you're upset. And I know sometimes, like, I totally understand, like, sometimes you just want to drop kick people, you just want to elbow drop people.
Shawn Michaels, dropping his elbow.
I totally get it. I know people can get frustrating, but a lot of times it's your interpretation of the situation, and you can't control people, but you can control yourself. Keeping in this line of, understanding your emotions. In a video I made, I talked about the two things hindering your self-improvement. The thing I told you guys was forgetfulness, right? You often forget to do certain things, which is 100% true. In that video, I advised you to probably put a reminder on your phone to do a certain task. What I did notice though was that, take me for example, I use this app called TickTick on my phone, and it's basically like a productivity app to remind you of things, calendar, things like that. I love it. I put down things like get my hair cut. Like I put down all types of stuff on TikTok, all types of stuff, right? Sometimes though, a reminder may pop up, something like ab workout, right? The ab workout notification pops up, but at that moment when that notification pops up, I'm like, damn, I don't want to do this. I'm doing something else. Like, I don't feel like it. Logically, I should do the ab workout because that's what I set to do, but emotionally, I don't feel like it. So I made another video called Don't Rely on Motivation, something along those lines. And in that video, I talked about motivation is temporary and it won't boost you to where you need to get to. You need an underlying why. Like, why are you doing certain things? That's very strong. That'll anchor you to keep you on track. From my vantage point, working out is something I value. You know, I like looking at myself in the mirror, and it's just aesthetically pleasing for me. Whatever your judgments are on it, oh, you're vain, whatever. That's what I like for me. So if I add that why to that reminder, right? That why that keeps me on track. When that notification pops up, the emotion that I feel in the moment of I don't feel like doing it gets a lot of times overwritten by the why. So me seeing that notification, that note on that notification saying leading a healthy life, right? That's going to come into play and override the temporary emotion of, oh, I don't feel like it, I'm feeling kind of lazy. So that's another thing to notice. Just because you set these reminders and I should do this, I should do that. Some of you New Year's resolution people, I should do this, I should do that. You will have emotional hijacking that happens. And if you're not aware of that, your New Year's resolutions, like most people, will go to nothing, or it'll only last like 2-3 weeks. Oftentimes, the strong why will get you so far to your goals, to anything. Like, look at these sports stars that they're in a championship game and they have this extra boost of will that comes out because they have this why as to why they're winning the championship. It's not just holding up the trophy. It's like their mother is like sick or something and they want to win it for their mom, right? Just these types of things that boost them to the finish line. Even if they're tired in the fourth quarter, you know, whether it's football, basketball, or even in soccer, they're tired at the end of the second period or a stoppage time. They just like push it forward because it's like they have a deep why that pushes them forward. That why is what they're doing it for, not for their emotions. Another thing is know your triggers. What pisses you off? What gets you upset? What makes you happy? If you can make a list of these things and really be aware of it, it goes a long way. I did this for myself and it was a pretty long list and I was pretty surprised. And you want to be aware of how do you react in those situations and how do you react after you're aware of those situations. Let's say you make that list and then you realize that about yourself, right? Those situations that trigger you. How do you react after you're aware of them? Does it happen again? Then, you know, maybe if it happens again, you have a little bit more work to do. If it kind of stops or it slows down, hey, you know, you just fixed something that you weren't really aware of. Maybe you don't like how combative your siblings are. Maybe you don't like how you know, your friends act in a certain way. Make a list of that. And you know, why does that upset you? Why does that piss you off? Why does that make you happy? Why does that make you laugh? Right? Those types of things. And if it's kind of difficult for you to kind of see, like, feel your emotions, that's okay, because you're honestly not. If you can't identify it, that's okay, because a lot of people can't, and that's totally fine. What you can do in that case is look at TV shows, movies, and look at how those be aware of those characters' emotions, right? If you're watching, what do people like to watch? Game of Thrones, or some sort of, if you're watching anime, or if you're watching some game show, I don't know, whatever you like to watch. Look at how people react emotionally and see if you can identify that type of emotional reaction and see it in yourself. You can take this a step ahead and look at your favorite main character. Just look at your favorite main character and your favorite character, and oftentimes the reason why they are your favorite character is because they have certain traits that you want to either embody or do already embody, and you can relate to them in that sort of way. So if that's the case, kind of look at them and kind of study them, and you'll often probably see the same things in yourself, and you can really be aware of how you react to situations. That's pretty much emotional intelligence. Thoroughly being able to spot how you react to situations, how other people react to situations, and calibrate to them, because it'll do wonders for your life, right? It'll do wonders for how you regulate yourself, how you manage yourself, how self-aware you get, how much of a connection you really make with yourself. Because honestly, that's the strongest connection you could ever have. The strongest connection is not your favorite sports team, it's not your best friend, it's not your spouse, it's not your family, it's you. You're your strongest connection, and that's just like it's just something you have to get down. Like, this is such a huge part of life, is emotional, pretty much emotional mastery. And I haven't mastered it, but you know, if I look at myself from December 2020 right now to from, you know, January 2020, I've made leaps and bounds in my ability to regulate myself emotionally. And I hope for you to say the exact same thing a year from now. And of course, send me a message if you, when you do, or just send me a message of how your journey goes with this, for sure. Leave a comment about what you thought about this video. Appreciate the support, guys. Have a good one. Take care. Bye.